Hello, friends. I am Praful. With me, Kenny. Hi, Kenny.
Hi, Praful. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing excellent and so satisfied with what we have to show today.
Yes, exactly. So today we're planning to show a TikTok toy game. And we are not a game developer as such. We have developer keeping beginners in mind. So coming from front-end to back-end developers. So this is our best shot how we can create start to finish a TikTok game. Before we dive into the code details, let me show a quick demo to you guys. This is a very simple, popular game across all of the world. So this is a game we can relate even though you are from US or India or anywhere from any part of the world. So 0 wins.
And I think, Praful, you were having a lot of fun playing with your daughter with this, right?
Yeah, she also 6-year-old, but she usually beat me in this game. So it is very good experience for me to play with her. It's a nice game. And we initially, when we started, we think it is a simple piece of cake, but it is not like that. It took a while to complete it, isn't it, Kenny?
Yeah, we did not anticipate that so much of work goes into developing even such a simple looking game, right?
Yeah. So before we dive into the code, let me explain about how we approached it. So this is the centerpiece. You've seen that it is SVG. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. So we could have we could have picked different solution. For example, canvas imaging, that this can be achieved as well to draw this cross circle, and also we can use combination of div and paragraph. But we are using SVG just to draw these building blocks, for example, lines, to draw this grid, and to circle, and to using the combination of two lines to make a cross. And we use this kind of finishing line. So this is how the fundamental blocks looks like, and a little bit of mathematics. So Kenny is expert in maths, so he will explain about the. But no need to worry, guys. It is not very heavy maths. Just addition, subtraction, and a little bit trigonometry.
Yeah, just to add also, like this is my first time like working with SVG in HTML, like a web app. And it was very interesting that, if it works on the basis of coordinates, and you have to think a little differently compared to your usual web development like process, where you normally think about div and putting this here and there and flex and all that stuff. But in this, we are thinking in terms of the coordinates. So a little bit of mathematics helps. Like Praful is saying, like nothing too complicated. But once you break it down, it's kind of very simple. So yes, yes, Praful.
Yeah, apart from those lines, circle, we have created SPG of 400 width and 400 height. It is a fixed size. And if you see the cell are important, this is 0, 1, 2 cell, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are altogether 8 positions. So we have created array and stored that to not what the position and initialize some with some values. We'll explore in detail slowly, but I'm just giving a overview so that you can relate when we saw the code. And when we click any cell, so we're trying to get these coordinates from this mouse pointer events, and we calculate which cell you are clicking. So that is a bit of math over there. So once we click it, then we create a flag just to toggle between this cross and circle. So when we click the first time, the player 1 would be cross, and when we cross the second time, it would be toggled. So it will switch to player 2. And let's move ahead to the code, right, Kenny?
Yeah, let's start with the code.
Yeah, as we created like previous video, you can see like to do application and Hacker News module. So we have stored all this code base into our YouTube GitHub repository. So I'll give you the link in the description below. So you can explore, you can run this code in your free time. So what we created? We created a boilerplate project. This is where we have created a standard React application code, how we can bootstrap a React application, and how we can add TypeScript support, and how we can add Tailwind support, and some configuration related to ESLint and Prettifier as well. So which makes creating a different project very simple. So we just have to copy and rename it. So we just copied and renamed this Tic Tac toy. So we'll create a dedicated video for the boilerplate, how we approach that. But just to start with, we started with the boilerplate code, copied it and renamed it and started coding that code. And if you see this app folder, we have created a new component, Tic Tac toy. That is where only one component we have created. We have not split it into multiple pieces just to make it simple and straightforward. So this is AppSuite. We have embedded Tic Tac toy game. So if you see this Tic Tac toy application, so first we'll start with the fundamental blocks. As I said earlier, like it is line, circle, and cross. So this is where the line looks like. It has like 2 pairs of XY coordinates. The first one is starting point and it is the ending point. So x1 will be point to starting point and x2, y2 point to second point, ending point. And we have given some class name. So based upon some, whether it is finishing line or whether it is which kind of grid line. So we decided the color based upon this flag and we given struct to this type. And as we using this TypeScript code, so we given like and here as we are using TypeScript, so we have given this line properties, which is from and to, and we define a point. This point type, if you see, it is a kind of array which contain only 2 values, number, or we can say tuple type. So this contain 2 number type. If you could have using a number array, then it has like more possibility. But we want to store like x and y coordinates only. So 2 number we are storing from 2 and color. Color is optional. And similarly, circle, we are just having some midpoint over here. And based upon the midpoint, like this is the center point of the circle, and this is the radius. So we draw a circle on those values. And these are the SVG elements. So if you do the simple SVG element render it will render perfectly on the screen. And we have transparent fill and a little bit of styling, like for example, text, green color and stroke and fill information and some other information. So I'm Kenny, do you want to explain the cross, how you can come up with this cross component?
Yeah, so so this cross is essentially, you know, when we're thinking about it, it's like an X. So this X is like 2 lines that are intersecting, right, at an angle. So it is, we are building on top of the previous line that Professor just explained before. And we need to make sure that we are able to provide an offset, like the correct X and Y coordinates for it. Okay. So I am just taking the annotation tool. Let me see. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm just making full screen. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So here what happens is we are getting this midpoint. Okay. So if you're simply taking a midpoint, suppose this is the midpoint. Okay. So if we want to first think about drawing a plus sign, so we'll have to do the midpoint and then come up a certain distance, right? And come down a certain distance to draw the vertical line from the midpoint, right? So we need to, from the midpoint, compute this XY value and this XY value to draw a single line like this. Okay. So that is in the case of a plus sign. Okay. So initially what we had done was we started with a plus sign and we tried to rotate it using our CSS transform. But with Tailwind, it was not, we were playing very well with Tailwind. So then I was thinking, okay, how do we draw the cross like in a normal mathematics way? So that is when we came up with this this particular equation here. Okay. So what is happening here is, so in a normal midpoint, we have it here, and we want to get the position of this point here, like to do the X. So what happens if you consider like a grid, like a coordinate system, right? So sine 45. So this is like a 45 degree, right? And then sine of the 45 will give us this distance, this much distance, or I'll just do a different color. So this much distance is sine 45 into the radius, or so this becomes a length by 2. So length is like what we want the entire cross ka length to be. Okay, so by 2 becomes that particular next distance, which is this distance. So that distance is length by 2 into sine of 45 will give us this distance. Okay, so that we are getting as an offset variable. So that offset variable, now we are seeing key, okay, this x is our midpoint, and the new x value we want to the left side. So becomes x minus the offset. So we will get this point ka value. Same way for y also, y minus offset. So the vertical side, starting from the midpoint, I'll just use a different color. So starting from the midpoint, we want to offset the y also in the negative direction. So this is like, this direction is x positive x. This direction is y positive. So going up means we need to reduce from the midpoint. So this becomes the new y. So that way we are getting the first is the from point, which is this point, and then is the 2 point, which is like x plus offset and y plus offset. So becomes here, x plus offset this location, and then y plus offset becomes this location. So essentially, to sum it up, what is happening here is first line that we are drawing here is drawing this one. Second line that we are drawing is similarly, it is drawing this one. So that entire process gives us the cross. What do you think, Praful?
Yeah, it is a good, my mathematics refresher, but I partially understand what's going on. So people need to watch it a couple of times to get a good feel about it. So you can experiment it slowly and play around the code and change its coordinates, and only get a good understanding about it. But it is a good
playing around helps.
Yeah. So by one point, it is very difficult to get a complete idea, but it's a simple mathematical concept.
Yeah, and also just to point out that we also did not come up with this just like that. We were also experimenting and trying out different values, and that is how we came to this. Shall I clear this, Praful?
Yeah, I did it.
Okay.
Yeah, now let's move to the other part. Now we build that line, circle, and cross. And next point would be like to create a grid. Grid is very simple. It has 4 lines, 2 horizontal, 2 vertical, and we have just give some position based upon our maximum weight and height divided by 3. So this is a very simple calculation, nothing fancy over here. So I think this is very simple one. We can just go to other topic. So now talking about, like, we have defined a couple of types, which is central to our component what we are going to build in a few minutes, or whatever we're going to show it. This player, we have like 3 types. This is very central to our do state management, how we store these fields. As I said, like we have like this 3, 6, and 9. 9 cell we have. So for cross, we represented it by 1. This is the player 1. And O represent, or circle represented by 0. And empty places is represented by -99. Just given a placeholder, or that is draw or blank. We didn't come with a proper name for that. You can say blank or draw, but that is just to know a placeholder value. X stand for 1, player 1, and 0 stand for, O stand for 0. Then we already use this point variable, which is a kind of tuple. I think this is tuple, right, Kenny?
Yeah.
Or array.
Yeah. It's a tuple, which is a certain array with 2 items, I think.
Yeah, it is a kind of array, but it is a defined length. like two length, and type is also can be different or same. In our case, it is same XY coordinates. We could have used object also, like object with XY. It is up to your own preference what is you chosen. Then the winnable position number, this winnable position. Like for example, once we created this, the winnable position can be any side, right? Like this, if you 0, 0, 0 align into this 3 cell, then it is a winnable position. So 0, 1, 2. This position we want to designate, we want to store it. That's why this winnable position is coming to picture. And we created an array of winnable position just to store all the different combination. We could have used a different complicated algorithm to get through that different combination, but we prepared to simple scenarios. There are total 8 scenarios: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So these all coordinates or position we have stored like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So that a winnable person will store those positions. And winning info, once we decided that who is winning, just to helpful for drawing this line. So here it will point to this player enum. So this winner can contain 1, 0, or if it draw, then it will store like -99. And position, it will say like which is the winnable position. So it will helpful for making the line. So this is winnable position, or this is, or this, or whichever the thing is winnable position. And also the line, once we decide the winner person, we come, let's start with one different example. This is our winnable position, 0, 1, 2. So 0 is the starting point, and 2 index is the final point. So by this 1 or 2 point, we decided which is the starting point of the line, which is the ending point of the line. So we can make this red line just to mark it as done, or winning strike. That is pretty simple, and we'll come to this function a little bit later. And Kenny, do you want to explain about the state? What are the state we have used and why, and give us a bit overview about that?
Yeah, sure. So in this, the first state that we are seeing here is X turn. So that variable is we are using to track who, or which player is playing at the current moment. So here we have, as the comment says, when the X player is playing, it will be true, and when the O player is playing, it will be false. So that is how we are deciding whether that a mouse click is supposed to add an X or an O in that particular cell, right? That, yeah, profile is showing. So depending on this, so by default, first time is X is become true, X turn is become true. So first time when they're playing, the first chance goes to X. Once the X is being placed, then we are going to switch this, and we are using that set is X turn use state that function to flip that toggle that value. That time next the click comes, it will be going to the O. Then we have the winning info. So as Profil mentioned, so this is like the default value is null, because when the game is starting, nobody has won yet. And then when the user is clicking, and we will just run the check, and based on the winnable position that Profil had said. So if one of the consecutive winnable position is captured by one of the players, then we will be updating and setting all the parameters for this particular state variable. Yeah. Profil, do you want to talk about the SVG offset?
Yeah, this SVG offset, initially we have not used it because we started this placement of this particular, this is the SVG component with 400 width and 400 height. But after, once we finalizing our code, we want to make it vertically, just to make it pleasant to eye. So that this offset we want to calculate corresponding to the screen. So if you start 0, 0, that SVG offset is not needed. So when we load it, right, we get this bounded rectangle code, and we get this XY position from this point. So if you see that, let me show quickly the code. So this is the use effect we have used. And I'll show you this. This is simple SVG ref. in that main SVG element we have just pointed it, we'll show again to that. But this is simply a React concept, just to access a React component DOM attributes, which is not controlled, or which is we can access using the Java DOM API. All the vanilla events, all those kind of things. So here we have checking this SVG ref is current. If it is current, then we are getting this current node. This is the SVG node of SVG element type. And from here, we are calling this function get bounding client rect. And there are a couple of fields available. We can retrieve here this DOM rect type, but we are interested into XY position. So this XY position will tell the distance between from 0, 0 to this particular corner, so that we can calculate that where we want to place, and when we are clicking the mouse, so we should decide this cell position appropriately. And then we set this SVG offset XY. This is a point type. Initialize it to 0, 0, and it will be set. So this is also, we have not implemented the resizable one. So once you play it, and if you can resize this window while playing it, so it will have some undesirable behavior. So anybody want to raise a pull request to where you're most welcome. So it would be your first open source contribution. You can go to our GitHub and make a pull request. I'll happy to merge it. But currently, when you have the page loading, so this will be calculated. And this is the board state. It is very simple one. We should contain this 9 cell attribute. 9 cell, it is an array of 9 cell. It will denote our 9 cell. And we are filling with this draw or minus 99 value just to initialize the data. It is the array type. And whenever we are clicking right, each cell we'll going to update whether it is a cross or 0. And finally, we're going to calculate over it. So that's, let me scroll down and reset board, CheckWinner we'll discuss later, and board change we'll discuss later. This is, we'll come to later. And Kenny, do you want to explain about like the rendering part? What are the different component?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just expanding that also. Yeah. So in our display or in the actual web page, we first have the main SVG, which internally has first the grid and all. So wait, where are we? Yeah. So we are using flex to make sure that everything is in center, and we are putting a padding top 40, and that makes it look a little more centered on the page. And within that we have the SVG element, and for the SVG we have given the width and the height, which we have put it out as constant. And that will help us, even if we want to change the width and height later point, we can change it in one place, and automatically all the calculations will be performed correctly. So that, and also the view box is just to show that, okay, that is the actual coordinates. And then from that, after that, we have the on click, which is like handling the player action. So whenever the player is clicking inside that SVG, they are trying to play on one of the cells. So that is the handle player action. I think we can look at that later. Then the ref, that is the what Profil was saying earlier, that is ref is needed for showing like the ref part, that previous 170, the ref is needed for React to get that element directly. Okay, then coming inside the SVG, we have line 172 main, that grid is there, and SVG is going in like step-by-step manner in terms of printing. So first the grid gets printed, and now whatever we are doing will come on top of it. It's like one layer and then the next layer and layer. So that is why we have first as the grid. And then the next thing we're having is that board state that earlier Profil has just mentioned. That is like a global state, and board state is telling us what all is the current state of that entire grid. So whether it is a player O or a player X, or if it is like an empty. So here what we are doing is we are taking that board state and iterating through it. And the first line that we are taking is we're getting the cell center. So basically the board state is like 0 to 8. So it is an array. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, as Profil had mentioned when he was showing that grid. And when we want to draw in that SVG, we need to get the correct coordinate system, right? So for that, we have created a helper function called the get cell center. And based on the current index of the or the position of the cell, we will be able to get the midpoint for that cell. So the center X and center Y, CX, CY. Then what we are doing is internally, we are putting that midpoint into the circle and the cross component that we first described in the start of the video. So that will correspondingly, if the point value, so that is based on the board state, if the point value equal to player is O, then we will draw the circle component. Otherwise, if the point is equal to player X, then we'll do the cross component. So that is about it in terms of the actual playing part.
Yeah, and also we use the debug statement just to print that
Yeah,
this really helped a lot while debugging and building this thing. So
yeah,
but I have not started
that
it,
is,
but that is fine.
yeah, that is true. This is like when you're working with like an array and 0 and all this stuff, it becomes a little confusing sometimes. So this adding these small things when we are developing, it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. So do you want to explain about the cell center before we may move to player handle, Kenny?
Sure.
So because by looking into this, it looks very simple. That's the magic of this giving a proper function name. So we are passing the index and it is magically written in the center of that point. The center means like if you pass 0, so it is written in this dot. And if you put a circle, this is written in this dot. So it's the midpoint. So based upon the midpoint, either we draw a cross or we draw a circle. So once we get those coordinates, it is very easy, just dummy pass, just to pass this coordinate. This component doesn't care about how we got me the midpoint. It only talk about, it is only know that you pass me a point and I'll draw a circle on that to midpoint. So this is a proper idea of a very clean code. So it is recommended to approach in this fashion, whichever the component you are building. Now coming to this center, so which will take an index is just a number. So index is just kind of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And end of the day, it will return the point. And Kenny will explain the logic involved here. Kenny, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So what is happening here? I'll just use that annotation just to get a little more control. Okay. Yeah. So first step here is that we have an array, right? We have an array which is a linear array, which is like going straight, and we have 9 items, right? But in our case of the grid, we have it like it's almost like a 2D array. So it's like 0, 0, and then 0, 1, 0, 2. So that way, the towards the right, the y value is increasing, or the second value in this coordinate system. Second value is increasing. And if you look at this vertical one, the x value will be increasing, which is the first value. So 1, 0, and 1, 1, so on, and then 2, 0. Okay. So when the index value is coming in, this index value is actually 0, 1, 2, 3, like that way. Okay. So we want to convert. Suppose we are getting the 3 item. So user is clicking on the 3 item or something, and then we want to place it in this position. So we will be getting a 3 here in the index position. So what we want to do is we want to calculate from that number, we want to calculate like this XY kind of a coordinate system. Okay. So for that, we are using this kind of a code, which is, how do I say, it is kind of straightforward, not too difficult. So if you look at the X values, suppose 3 is the value that we're getting as the index number. So X, or first let's look at Y. So in terms of Y, the value comes into 0 here, 0. And any value less than 3, say 0 or 1 or 2, the Y value is exactly the same, 0 or 1 or 2. And then anything greater than 3, greater than 2 becomes 0 or 1 or again 2. So this Y value is like a modulus operation on 3. So this will give you value 0 or 1 or 2. Okay. And And then our X value for up to 0, 1, 2 is always 0. So what happens is we need to take it divided by 3, because when the value is less than 3, we want the value to be 0, and then greater than 3, 3, 4, 5, we want the X value to be 1, and then it has to be 2. So we have to divide it by 3. So that is how we are getting the X and Y coordinates. So essentially that first step, what we have done is we have converted from this format into XY format. So that is like a first step. Okay. Then we are coming into actually computing the coordinate system distance. Okay. So what we have is we have this much is 400. This much is 400. So we have the grid also. So this is the actual grid. Okay. So we want to calculate, suppose same 3 is the item we are having. So this will be 1, 0 that we are getting. So we want to get to this midpoint location. So for this, what we did is we divided this entire thing into like divided by 6. Okay, which means that we will be getting units of this size. Okay, so now what happens is for this particular Y position, we don't need to move to the right at all. Okay, so X value is moving to the right in terms of the coordinate. Okay, but Y value is 0 here. So here this entire thing becomes 0 plus 1 becomes 1. So becomes 1 times maximum height by 6. So maximum height is this much divided by 6. So it becomes this much of distance, x direction. So like we're seeing, like if it is separated like this, one in one time of that distance is what we are getting. So if it was, suppose instead of 0, if it was a 1, that will become 1 into 2 is 3 plus 1. No, 1 into 2 is 2 plus 1, 3, which becomes 2, 3. So that will become this much of a distance. So this will become the midpoint for 1, 1. Okay. So similar way that we are doing for Y also based on the X value. So here I'll just change the color. So here this is 1. So in this case, it will be 1 into 2 plus 1 becomes 3. So in the Y direction, we want to move by 3 units. So 3 times this distance. So that is in the vertical direction. So that becomes, this is 1, this much is 1, this much is 2, this much is 3. So we'll get to this point. So that way we are getting the this is the x coordinate cx. Now this is the y coordinate cy, and this much is the x coordinate. So that in essence is how we are capturing this cell center. Praful, any thoughts?
Yeah, this is quite brilliant, the approach we have come up with Kenny. Because it can be approached as a beginner as a if-else condition, but you have to write lots of if-else condition and calculate lots of points to get to this midpoint. But this simple mathematics and understand the logically, then it really helps in a very small line of code. So this is extremely good, but it may not be obvious in the first instance, but it may take a while to get feel about it. The main idea is to, depending upon the position, we are calculating the center, but a little bit involved here about in terms of understanding to calculate the logic. Yeah, Kenny.
Yeah, I mean, even for us, it was a matter of experimenting and thinking through what we have as the input and what we want as the output. So little bit of thinking and a little bit of experimenting was involved. So it is totally understandable. Even if I'm coming back and looking at this, I'm like, okay, what is happening? I'm thinking, okay, and then one by one, step by step, I'll think through it, and then only we'll be able to figure it out. But it helps that our variable naming and all is like very intuitive. So I think that also helps a lot, right, Praful?
Yep. And if you are a game developer, this will be very intuitive. This will be coming as a second nature to you guys, because we are not very game developers, so we don't think in terms of coordinates and positioning and mathematics. But if you're from game development background, Kenny, then this they do all the time. So this is they can write within a matter of few minutes. But let's move ahead. Like we know how to. Now we rendered. Let me expand it. Yeah. So we have created a grid, and we created like cell center. And once we click it, right, we will show the logic in a while. Then we'll decide like which circle we have to put or cross. And this is big based upon this index. We're calculating the center and putting this position. So I think this handle position is a bit relaxed now. So we don't need to calculate the center point of that player, isn't it?
Meaning?
Because the center point we have calculated based upon here index, like it player 0, player 1. So handle point we have to, we'll see, let's see how it is behaving.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things here we are doing. This is I'm not very happy. This can be scope for improvement. I'm using any type here, which is recommended a best practice in terms of TypeScript. But somehow we not made it work to give this SVG element as a TypeScript happy manner. But anyway, so once handle player action, that means once we hover the mouse and click on the this SVG is this square or this game board. So we are getting this position. You can click here, here, and anywhere in the screen. So we are capturing that mouse position, and that coordinates will get in client X and client Y. And this is where this offset come into the picture that we talk about. Let's assume it is 0, 0, just to make it simplify. So once this assume this section is started from this point. So this offset will be 0, 0. And if it is started from some other point, then we are just minus, we're calculating this mouse position with respect to the SVG offset. But assume that it is 0, 0. So what we are exactly doing, we are getting this X grid. This is a little bit, do you want to explain this toggle, Kenny? Why X grid is pointing to client Y and why Y grid is pointing to client X?
Yeah, so I think I'll just annotate again. It is similar to the previous section that we saw. And I think we have tried to mention that in the comment also. So we have our grid here. So if the user is clicking, say here, okay. So what that means in terms of the mouse coordinate, right? For the, okay, sorry. Yeah, for the mouse coordinate, what happens is this much distance is the X distance and this much distance is the Y distance. Okay. So, but in terms of our like 0, 0 kind of a coordinate system, the first item we are thinking of is actually the vertical item. Okay. So that is why this particular X grid is relating to client Y, which is basically the mouse ka like Y positioning. Okay. So that is why it is like looking different. But the point is that we are trying to get the corresponding direction in the vertical for the first coordinate item. And then for the second coordinate item, we want to get the positioning to the right side. So that becomes, in terms of the coordinate, we are calling it a Y grid. But in terms of the mouse pointer, it is still an X pointer location, right? So that is why this Y and X confusion is happening. So that is one part of it. Now, if we consider why we need to divide by the max height by 3 or a max width by 3, we'll just consider one of the axes as an example. So suppose the user is clicking in this part. We actually want to get that the user has just clicked on somewhere within this box. That is our main goal right now. Okay. So assume we want to check the horizontal part. Okay. So now we know the entire distance is our width, max width. So now if we think of it as 3 separate divisions, it becomes max width by 3. By 3, this is also by 3, this is also by 3. Okay. So now if so we have a 400 value, right? I think it is 133 or something is the midpoint here, and 167 or something is the 267 is the midpoint here. So what happens is when the mouse is clicked here, so that value becomes less than 267, right? So when we are dividing it by 133, so suppose it is like a 250 value. Suppose this point this much distance is like a 250. What we will do is we will divide it by 133. Okay. So here definitely it is greater than 133, but not equal to twice also. 267 becomes twice. So then this entire division becomes with decimal point, but ignoring the decimal point, it becomes value of 1, right? So what happens is we are getting that coordinate. So in the horizontal direction, we want the y coordinate. So the y coordinate becomes 1, which is correct because this particular point is 1, 1 in terms of the x and y for the coordinate. So that becomes y is equal to 1. Same way, if the point was here, then this value would be something less than 133. Say it is 120. By 133 becomes 0. So that way we will get the second value as 0 here. And same way for this position. I'll just do one example for the vertical also. So I'll just use a different color. So vertically, suppose we are looking at this one. So same way, this entire height we are splitting into 3, right? So this is by 3, this is by 3, by 3, and this position, let's say it becomes like so we have 133 here. Suppose this is 150. So similar case only. So 150 divided by 133 is something greater than 1. So 1 point something, which will take us at 1. So that is the same one that we are getting here. So by combining both of these two items, we are able to translate from a user's any mouse position within this grid to the actual cell position, like comparing it to an entire grid. Right, Praful? That
makes
it,
sense.
right?
Yeah, it is a bit clear. Let me erase it.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Now the further functionality about this board is a bit simpler one. This is just simply console.log. We can remove it. Now at this point we are just checking the player, the cell is already played or not. If we try to click it here, so if the cell is empty, that means the value is contained -99 or draw enum type. So if you're clicking it again, nothing will happen. So just to decide like whether we're clicking an empty box or not, we're getting this variable. We're checking this coordinate system, and this x grid and y grid will get the value of 0, 1, 2, the cell index 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2 or something like that, as explained by Kenny. And to get this board state, so we are using this, I'll explain in a while how this will calculate it. So based upon that logic, we are calculating the position, what the value is contained in that particular position. And if it is not equal to draw, if it is equal to draw, if it is not draw, that means it is already 0 or x is there. Then we are returning it. We are not doing anything. We're just canceling that event. And also we are checking if game is over also. Then if you're clicking it once game is over, it won't do anything. And then we are checking, then if once we are clicking it to an empty space, then the point will come here. Then we are copying this immutable copy, variable, because we want to update this our state variable. And then we are updating the position. This is the index. As I said, initially it would be true. So first time when we are clicking, it would be true. Then we are registering in that position is 0. X, or actually x value is 1. And if we're clicking for the second time, it would be value for the 0. And because this X grid and Y grid is got this position, after doing lots of math and explanation by Kenny, we got these indexes 0, 0, 0, 1, and 0, 2. That is what this 2 line does for us. And this is a multiplication by 3. So if you see this, this will give this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this number. So giving in this example, this X grid is equal to 2 multiplied by 3 equal to 6 plus 1 equal to 7. So it is a simple, calculation to get exactly the position into this array. So if you see this chart, it should be very evidently clear that how we come with this indexing. And then we'll decide which player to put in that field. Once we get that, we are setting this board state and we are making this toggle this turn, because once X is played, the next player should be O and vice versa. Now let's move to that other topic, Kenny. Okay.
Next,
so
yeah.
So let me just quickly have a look. So we have seen this placement of grid, placement of board, and we are clicking this button. So once everything is clicking completed, then we have a use event, use effect, which is keep on monitoring this board state. Because the board state, where that exactly value we are dealing with, this array of 9. So this will contain that value, whether we will be draw or somebody win or somebody lose. Somebody lose, we don't know. It is just vice versa. So we could have made this in a different complicated algorithm to get this winnable position. But we make it very simple. This can be achieved using simple if-else condition. But we did a little bit differently. So winnable position, we got it 0. This is a 3 point. This winnable position, it means 0, 1, 2. This is the first point is referring 0, 1, 2. And similarly, other array is being constructed. This is the array of winnable position, array of array, 2-dimensional array. And here we are calling this CheckWinner function. We are passing this array and we are passing this board state. So it will decide like who is winning. And once we get not null, let's assume that we got this null, we got a winnable position, or we decided who is winning. Then we set it to a state variable. Based upon the winner, we do some other, we draw the line or display some message. If nobody winning, then we decide that whether game is drawn or not. Because this particular use effect will be called many times. Even the one click come, if there is no winner or loser, we can't decide that the game is drawn. So to make it decide to game is drawn, we have to iterate through everything and make sure that length equal to length of all draw element is equal to 0. Because there is no draw element. Draw means empty element. If there is no empty elements, then it evidently means that we are reached to a final point or game is drawn. If a game is drawn, then we just set the winner as a draw. Now, do you want to explain to check winner logic? Can it is a very simple one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So here what we're doing is in the CheckWinner. So as far as what we are getting as an argument, we are getting an array like we saw seen earlier, that winnable position array we are getting, which is like a list of 8 possible winning positions. And what we need to do now is to, based on the board condition right now or the board state, we need to check all of these possible winning positions to see if we actually have a user who has gotten that continuous straight line. So here we have a for loop, starting out with a for loop, which is taking each one of the winning positions. And then it is trying to calculate the sum of all the 3 items in the position. So that is where we're using that reduce. And position is an array. So it was a 2D array earlier. So that first for loop is looping in the outer array. which means that selection right now. So first time that for loop will be having value of 0, 1, 2, that first array, and so on for each of the time. That is for the outer for loop. And when we are doing the reduce, it is acting on that one small array, which is 0, 1, 2. So what we are doing is we are taking the board state at that position and we are just adding it up. So what will happen is in the board state, what we are doing is when the player is being playing, each time when that handling that action, we are assigning the position to 1 or 0 based on whether X or O is playing. So if X has gotten 3 consecutive ones as 1, then the sum will become 3. That is where the next if condition is coming. So we are saying if the sum is equal to 3, then we can say, okay, X has gotten 3 consecutive items in that winning position. Otherwise, if the sum is equal to 0, which this means that we had default minus 99, right? But O was able to have a continuous block, which for O's value is 0 compared to X's value. So when you're summing 0 plus 0 plus 0, it becomes 0 only. So that is how this if condition is helping us to check. And if the sum is 3, we are saying the winner is player X and we are passing the position. Or if the sum is 0, we are saying the winner is player O and also passing the position. And if neither of these is the case, we are returning a null.
Yep. So this particular function will be executed each time you make a call, even though you are making a call for one place. For example, X, this CheckWinner will be calculated. We could have optimized a little bit, only 3 click we could have checked it. But currently, because we have to call, or if we 4 click, right, we have to also check that these 3 are meeting the condition or not. We can't wait till everything is been clicked. So this CheckWinner will be called because how it will call, because it will depend upon this board state, and board state would be updated when we click this any cell, and this draw will be called when that entire board is played and nobody win. So this is the major logic between this CheckWinner. So we decided CheckWinner, we created this object, which player we win. Whether it is a draw means there is no need for these fields. If it is winner, we decided like it may be X or it may be O. Then we told about the position and the from 2 point. And depending upon this winning info, this use effect sometimes bit scary to use at the beginning. Because lots of disjoint things are going on here and there. We modified board state and we have triggered some piece of code here. It is not very intuitive, I would say, but slowly you'll get used to it, isn't it, Kenny?
Yeah, it is like a lot of randomness is there. Like usually you're used to seeing one line, next line, all the code is like straightforward.
And
but
if you
this,
call
like,
a function, if you call a function in Java or other thing, right, you can do, you can click it and go to that program and you can see that even in C or C++ also. And there is a navigation is smooth. Suddenly one piece of code won't execute from out of nowhere. Because you are updated.
Kind of like a side effect.
Yeah, right? Side effect. But if you think in terms of JavaScript, like JavaScript is very, from day one, they have implemented this kind of thing, right? All the event handler, you can listen to any event handler and some like mouse over, you can listen, resize, you can listen and do some code. So React Hook also taken this to next level and make all your custom functionality changes also to event driven.
Yeah.
Okay, to the final point. Once this game is finished, the finishing drawing winning line. Where is our winning line?
Just below.
Okay, good. So if winning info we have the subject and winning line not equal to winning line, what does it mean, Kenny? And winning.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so what it's checking
by looking
is
this negation, I always confuse. Sorry.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So we're just checking if the winning info is there and there is no winning line already, and the winner is not, the winner is not the 99. Like it's not a draw. If it's a draw, we don't need to draw that line, right? If the game is a draw, we don't need to draw the line.
I think these two conditions is
So-
sufficient. I think this is like extra check. I think we're doing, because if it is
yeah, I
not
don't know
a
why
draw,
that is. Yeah.
but anyway,
Anyway, fair
just
enough.
to I don't know what it is, but
Just to confuse people.
yeah. Now we got the position, like position 0, see winning position 0 and winning position 2. Based upon the cell center, this will talk about the cell position, like which cell we are starting, which cell we are ending. And we got the center point. This we elaborately discussed, like how to get center point earlier. Same function we are calling. So starting point and ending point. And here we are setting line. Okay, what we are trying to set, if the line is already set, don't execute this code, Kenny. Till now, we have not set the line. If we have not set this line, then only execute. If there is a line, don't come here. Okay, so we have shown this drawing line. So, and finally, we have some information message. Like we have another block. This will, this is a simple functionality, which is having this input button. This play again, it will reset it. Play again, or in between also you can reset it. So if you see that reset board, it should be simple. Resetting first person as true and winning person null, and BoardState as the default position. Do you want to explain, Kenny? This, yeah.
Yeah, reset is very simple in terms of the logic. Like whatever state we have added, we are just putting it back into the default value. That is all in terms of the reset part. So we just have a button there and we're just putting an on-click handler to set the state.
Yeah, before we wrap up for today's call, do you want to quickly give a, this is very much simple and self-explanatory, but still can you give a walk around?
Yeah, there are a lot of like conditions inside that gets a little confusing. So basically what I'm saying is we want to show who is the winner when the winner has happened. So there we are checking if winning info and then winning info that winner is not equal to null. So basically we are checking that there is a winner, and I mean winner meaning it could be player O or player X or that player dot draw. So that is like a condition that we need to check. And then after that, we are checking if the winner is player dot draw value. Then we are putting a h3 with the class which is giving text 3xl, which is a tailwind thing. And then we are saying it is a draw. And otherwise, if it is not a draw player that is the winner, then the winner would be either of player X or player O. So there we are checking, okay, is the winner, we're using the ternary operator, to check the player X or player O is the winner, and correspondingly we are printing X or O. And after that we are saying wins. So that way we are able to say it is a draw or it is an X or O wins.
Yep. Sounds good, Kenny. And guys who want to learn, play this game, you can feel free to, I'll give this link in the description below, so that this will be deployed in the Vercel app. So you can play and let us know how it you feel like about our game. Next upgradation, yeah, Kenny.
Just one more point is that I want to add that, last step that we did in terms of like making the coloring and all, do you want to point about that?
Yeah, the dark theme color, right?
Yes.
Yeah, initially it looks very white and red and all this junky color, but we spent some time into making this darker background and choosing this color for this thing. So we are happy about the result it came from. And the next installment of the feature enhancement of this project, we want to make it a multiplayer game without having any server involved, so that I can click. Now I'm only clicking this X and Kenny, even though Kenny can only have a look. he can't play with me. Now, next time I want to click X, I want Kenny to play in his own laptop when he's opening this same thing. That would be interesting to do.
Yeah.
So any concluding thought, Kenny, or we are good to go?
No, we are good to go. This was like a very, very exhaustive, or a long time. It took a long time, I guess. Well, based on what we thought, it wasn't that simple at all. So yeah, all these game developer people, like hats off, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Finally, we did it, and we are happy about the result what we got at the end.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.